Thank you everybody for coming. We're super excited to have you here for the grand opening of the What Would the Egg Do, a virtual reality exhibition. My name is Rinat Scherzer and I'm the curator of this project. This project is a collaborative co-creation of wonderful women from all over the world. And there's no better way to launch it than on Women's International Day. We have an incredible event ahead of us. We'll kick it off with opening remarks from Maya, the head of the X Reality Center, and Netta from the Israeli Consulate. We'll then have a fascinating panel discussion with 5 out of the 15 artists participating in the exhibition, moderated by the wonderful Hannah Pang, the founder of the podcast Crystals, Clicks, and Climate. This will be followed by a workshop by the incredible Luna. And finally, you'll have time to roam the gallery. So right now you're in the YouTube live version and you see us as if you're standing on the stage looking at us. But afterwards, you'll be able to go into the virtual reality space and look around, and it will actually feel like you're in New York City. But first, let me give you some context on the philosophy behind this project. The idea of the exhibition started from a TEDx talk that I gave just over 2 years ago, where I reflect on how our society operates very much like sperm. It's as if we're all in a crazy competitive race trying to be the chosen one out of millions. Our pace of life is frantic, hectic, and hyper-focused on the doing, while giving little space to the power ingrained in the being. And just as nature needs both the sperm and the egg to create life, so does our society. The sperm and the egg are equally essential. And so this exhibition is a celebration of the forgotten wisdom of the egg and the female cycle. The egg is precious. She has a 360 degrees view on her surroundings. She's selective and discerning. The female cycle is aligned with all of nature's cycles, like the seasons of the year and phases of the moon, and gives time and space for blooming, as well as letting go, shedding, and regenerating. For me, it's always really fascinating how both the sperm and the egg have the same goal. They both want to create life, but the strategy that they go about it is so different. The sperm moves quickly towards the goal, while the egg allows millions of sperm to come to her and then wisely chooses the best one. I want you to take a moment and think for a second, how would your life change if instead of running after the next big thing, you allow all the options to come to you and then choose? So the next time you find yourself frantically running to nowhere, I encourage you to stop and ask yourself, what would the egg do? Everything you'll see in this exhibition reflects that, from the artworks presented here, to the round space of the exhibition, to the amphitheater that you're standing in right now, which is shaped like an egg. And then, of course, we have the sperm represented by Fifth Avenue just outside. I will now pass the stage to Maya, the head of the director of the X Reality Center in the New School, who has worked day and night with her team to create this miraculous virtual reality space for us. Maya, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Rinat. I'm truly excited about this collaboration and the opportunity to design the virtual gallery for What Would the Egg Do? Immersive worlds present new ways to access experience and connect with art. While we can't be together physically today, just looking through the windows of our virtual space, you can find yourself right outside our Parsons building on Fifth Avenue. The virtual gallery reflects the sensibility of the art and was designed with curved lines to represent the state of flow in our lives. As a woman writer, storyteller, and designer myself, it was amazing to create a virtual space featuring the innovative and thought-provoking artworks of women artists. With the virtual gallery, we are celebrating the creativity of women. And it's critically important that women's voices are represented in these new venues, an emerging immersive world. So thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to seeing everybody walk into this new world we've created together.
Thank you so much, Maya. We're so honored to have partnered with the Israeli Consulate to bring this event to you. They have been a crucial part of making this come to life, and especially Netta Rosin, who we have here. I would like to invite Netta Rossen, the Director of Visual Arts and Literature, Office of Cultural Affairs, Consulate General of Israel, to say her opening remarks. Netta, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Rinat. Thank you for everyone who is joining us today, and happy International Women's Day. I'm Netta, the Director of Visual Arts and Literature at the Israeli Office of Cultural Affairs in New York. And it's amazing to be here and to take part in this really impressive endeavor. This is a very exciting and unique joint effort of some really great women. So I want to first thank Rinat, the curator, and really the heart behind all of this, the exhibition and this event. I want to thank Emily, the executive producer and one of the talented artists in the show and a panelist today. I want to thank our participants, our wonderful moderator, Hannah, and the brilliant artists, Yaela, Mayan, Rinat, and Luna. And to Maya and her team at Parsons and New School of Design's X Reality Center, who are responsible for this amazing virtual reality platform and who are enabling all of this tech-wise. So thank you so much. Lastly, I want to thank my colleagues at the Israeli Office of Cultural Affairs for their support, and most notably, the Consul for Cultural Affairs in North America, Buni Kochavi. This was truly a group effort, and a global one at that. And to see this exhibition come to life in this super impressive, virtual yet familiar Fifth Avenue Gallery was just so satisfying. And again, I'm really proud to have taken part and supported this project. I first met with Rinat last fall, not long after I started in my position here. And I was totally thrilled to hear from her about this great, creative, and super timely exhibit. And it's not only timely today for International Women's Day, because these artworks and the sentiment behind this exhibition in general about looking differently at life and design in a cyclical, flowing way instead of a straightforward, linear one is something that we have all probably been doing one way or another, consciously or not, in the past year. Everyone had to rethink everything about how to go about their daily life, how they experience work, creation, relationships, culture, and every other aspect of life. So this is not just about women's empowerment, although obviously it is a big part of it, but it really gives the visitor a new viewpoint and approach to make sense of it all. And also at the end of the day, it's just some really terrific art. So please enjoy the event and make sure to check out the exhibition in full afterwards. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Netta. Thank you, Netta. Yes, so 1 second. Yeah. Thank you so much, Netta, to our partner in the Israeli Consulate. And thank you, Maya and the X Reality Center, our two partners that made this happen. Coming up is the panel discussion with 5 of the artists in this exhibition. But first, I would like to thank all the artists that are not here in the panel, that are presenting their work in the gallery, which you'll see afterwards. They present a diverse art forms, from photography to textiles to glass to poetry, all in one space. So I want to thank Alex Goldberg, Anna B. Nunes, Martha Luch, Christopher Santiago, Jessica Corujo, Sasha Coleman, Eric Kirk, Jessica Watson. Thank you all so much. I also want to thank Yu Long, who you can't see right now because she's making everything happen behind the scenes, who has been our program coordinator for the past month. And lastly, and most importantly, I would like to give a huge thanks to Emily Ellington, our executive producer, who has been working around the clock to make this complex production come to life. She has been a monumental and critical pillar of this project. Thank you, Emily. None of this would have happened if not for your magical production and creative skills. And to kick off the panel, I would like to share a wonderful quote by Nicole Lyons that says, "There is no greater power than the sun, the moon, and a woman that knows her worth." And I would like to paraphrase that and say, there is no greater power than the sun, the moon, and humanity that embodies the feminine. And this is what this exhibition is all about, embodying and reclaiming our femininity. So now I will pass the stage to Hannah Pang to moderate the panel. Hannah is the founder of the platform Crystals, Clits and Climate that explores the intersection of spirituality, sexuality, and sustainability. Hannah is also the head of marketing and advocacy at Futera. Hannah, the stage is yours.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Rinat. And hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you all today, not only celebrating the launch of the What Would the Egg Do virtual reality exhibition, but also to celebrate International Women's Day, whose theme this year is Choose to Challenge. And one of the reasons why I love What Would the Egg Do is that it challenges our current mindset of being linear and directive and fast-paced, and asks us to explore another way of approaching problems, of creating solutions that are more open, more fluid, more cyclical. And it challenges all of us to consider whether our current processes are still working for us as people, as communities, as cities, and as guests on this planet. So I'm so excited to share the space today with the artists who are part of the What Would the Egg Do exhibition, who are also challenging how women are viewed, challenging about femininity, and about our knowledge and our wisdom. So as I introduce each artist, we'll also get a chance to view their work, and we'll get to hear a bit from them about their work, which you should obviously go explore after the event in the VR exhibition. And we do have a lot of incredible artists to speak with today. And so if you do have questions for them, please put it in the chat or in the comments on YouTube. And if we don't get around to going through all of them, we'll make sure to send them to the artists afterwards to make sure they can see them and perhaps respond to them on their own channels. So make sure to follow along there as well. I also just want to note that this conversation is being recorded and it's going to air as a Crystals, Clits and Climate podcast episode. So if you're interested in re-listening to something or sharing it with your friends or community who you think it might be helpful with, please follow along there to hear more. So let's dive into the conversation. And I'm going to first come to Emily, who is not only one of the artists in the exhibition, but as mentioned, is the executive producer for this exhibition. Emily currently works as a design strategist and a creative consultant for the United Nations, and also various global fashion brands. And her work focuses on textiles, illustration, and using design for social good. So Emily, coming to you first in your work, your piece called Broken Binary, and which explores the binary definitions that we have about gender, that being a woman means X and being a man means Y. So I guess two questions for you. The first is, how do you envision kind of our, especially Western culture, shifting away from these current, I guess, definitions about gender to be more fluid, or even just more individual? Oh, sorry, I'm hearing myself. And also, as the producer of this exhibition, what have you learned through the process and working with the other artists that have given any new insight to our current gender binaries? So over to you, Emily.
Thank you, Hannah. So I would suggest that we can have a balance of both fluidity and more individual thinking around gender. As this exhibition proposes, we all have a balance of both feminine and masculine energies, and respecting and understanding these different qualities is crucial to learning ourselves. In addition to that, society views feminine and masculine as very closed boxes that are rarely updated, and that rigidity is harmful. I'd like to see more openness to the way these two halves flow into one another, rather than having a harsh separating line. A smooth gradient spectrum that doesn't force individuals to pick between extremes. I definitely struggle myself with being an all or nothing thinker in a lot of ways. And over the past few years, I've been trying to address this and acknowledge the space that's in between. This is the attitude I hope to see on gender conversations in the future. And as far as being a producer on this exhibition and what I've learned in that process, we're so fortunate to have a global group of artists represented here, and it's been an honor to learn from the experiences of others. As much as we share some things, such as the menstrual cycle, which is bringing us all together in this today, we each have our own experiences influenced by our culture, our environment, and all these other aspects of our individual lives. Not only is there a gender binary we perceive here, especially in the US, where I was born and raised, but there's also different expectations around the world on this two-gender system should operate and what roles each gender has in society. So if we want these roles to change in a global way, we need to understand the intricacies and educate ourselves on cultures outside of our own. So that's what's been so beautiful about this exhibition.
Amazing. Yeah, and I love your point about it's not about boxes or kind of very strict black or white lines. And I think it's just kind of a way of thinking that we need to question, not just with gender, but across a lot of different things. Always putting people's identity into very well-defined boxes has held us back in a lot of ways. So being able to break that down across the board and have people be able to understand themselves and their identity a bit more fluidly, I think is really powerful. And kind of to the last point that you were just saying, something that I love about your work and the pieces more specifically, and I'm excited for people to be able to go have a look at them, is that they, in and of itself, are quite interactive in the way they offer different experience depending on what kind of angle you're looking at it, how close you are, how far away you are. Can you tell us a little bit about the decision to offer different perspectives to the viewer on your work?
Absolutely. So by looking through the two different films on my piece that's called Layered Construction, you see instructions for how to construct gender. So through a masculine lens, you see positive and negative stereotypes, replacing the words of a blueprint. And through the feminine lens, we see the same, but in a recipe for a cake. These roles are imposed on us in our daily lives. And when we stop to look through one lens, we stop looking just through one lens and just look at it as a whole picture. There's an overlap of both those masculine and feminine qualities. And it removes a lot of that negativity forced by, again, those boxes that we put people in. And I believe so many of the world's problems today are caused by refusing to understand and empathize with others' point of view. So I mentioned earlier about shifting from thinking in extremes. I want to offer the viewer multiple vantage points that completely change the message the work is sending. This was really an exercise for me to say there isn't one way to see the world, to see gender, or to see a piece of art.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's a huge thing of that. There's so many more options. We're quite used to saying, okay, this is the one way to do things, only giving one option. There's like, this is the right and wrong. Yeah, and I love that point of, no, there's a bunch of different ways to look at the same thing, and it isn't right or wrong. It's just different, and being able to, accept that and take it as something that can be really beautiful and can offer us so much more. There's so much more to play with if we're looking at the whole spectrum rather than just one side or the other. Amazing. Thank you, Emily. Looking forward to kind of getting into your work more. The next collection of artworks we're going to explore is called Dancing with Glass, which is created by the artist Maayan Fajan, Hila Singer, and Laura Discastro. And here with us today on the panel, we have Maayan, who is a glass artist. She graduated from the glass department at the Bezalel Academy of Art and Design. She's a pioneer in the Israeli landscape of hot glass, and she also co-owns a studio in Tel Aviv where she creates her artwork. And in her work, she talks about femininity with humor and criticism, and she's exhibited around the world. But I'm excited to chat with you here today, Maayan. And the first question that I want to ask, as soon as I started looking at your work, the first thing that came to mind, especially with the title Dancing with Glass, I just didn't think that the material of glass would be one that would pair well with dancing. It can be quite fragile or quite solid. But looking at your work, seeing how you made it has really convinced me otherwise. So I would love if you could tell us a little bit more about your choice of working with the material and how you instill that really flowing feminine energy in your pieces and the cyclical nature of it.
So, well, when you know glass is a frozen material and a hard material, and I know glass is a hot material, 1,100 degrees or 200 degrees, and you actually need to kind of dance with the glass and able to create whatever you want. So it's kind of, it syncs with everything that I make, because you need to flow with it and able to create it actually. So in my work, I created together with Hila Zinger, we sat down and created this amazing 4-piece artwork. And Laura De Capra, the photographer that photoed everything for us, we created this amazing artwork with 4 pieces of glass. We created femininity of a woman that represents our artwork and represents what we feel. Some of the work is a lotus flower that represents that femininity, and the roots that come from the bottom and grow to the top from the mud and from the swamp and come out to a clear and beautiful flower is exactly like the glass is. Like when I work, everything is black and dirty, and you can kind of feel a really work that you like workers from a factory, and then the creation is absolutely beautiful what comes out from it. So that's the part of the work that I've done.
Beautiful. And I love what you were saying. It gives me this feeling that there's this really kind of grounded, earthy energy. And then through the process, it kind of blossoms and converts and transitions into something else that can be so beautiful. And I guess that kind of leads me to my next question, which is about women's relationship to nature. And that seems to be quite present within your pieces, both through the process, some of the stuff that you were just describing, as well as the content of it. So there's trees or the roots of the lotus, or the lotus flower itself is very present in your work. And I just wanted to hear your thoughts on why you think it's especially important for women to explore their relationship and connection to nature. And I guess if you have done kind of exploring in your own relationship with nature, and if that's kind of inspired some of the content of your pieces.
So I think in some of the pieces, like the lotus flower, you can see the women that are entwined in the roots of the flower, and you can see that they are nourishing the flower, and they, for the lotus flower comes from the mud and the swamp, and it grows out from the mud and the swamp and comes out and is beautiful, and you can't see a single thread of where it came out to into this beautiful water, and the clear glass kind of represents that it comes from the mud but comes out absolutely clear and fragile, but really, really strong, because the lotus flower, it could live for 200 years before it can flourish. So the same as the glass, like it's very fragile, but it actually is very strong. And the same in the piece that we made of the tree, that the leaves of the tree are what give the nourishing to the tree, and then the figures that are emerge from the tree are what give the energy to the tree, and give the energy to the roots. And the tree is the tree of life. The women are the ones that give the life, birth to children, and like this saying, behind every man is a strong woman. So the women are the ones that are the strong people here, and they're the ones that nourish the whole thing together. And also for the work that we did about the mandala, it's a cycle. It's all a cycle of life. In Buddhism, and they create mandalas for weeks and weeks. They're made out of sand, which is the material that we use in glass. And they create it for weeks and weeks, and then they erase it with one hand and restart a new mandala all over again. The thing is a cycle, and it's in everything that we do, it's absolutely a cycle. So every piece that we made had the cycle of life in it and the nature inside it.
Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, there's so many parallels between women's experience with that you find in nature. And as you say, it's all connected. We're all part of the cycle, whether we're kind of being birthed into it or whether we're kind of going and evolving through it ourselves and kind of passing it on. There's a lot of parallels that I think, I imagine a lot of women will want to explore after viewing your work. So I know you have a glass of wine there with you. So cheers. Thank you, Maayan. So the next artist and piece of work that we'll look at is called The Circle of Life, which was created by Rinat Zimash-Levy and Mali Aroesti. Sorry, I'm not great at pronouncing names. But here with us, we have Rinat. So welcome, Rinat. And Rinat is a multidisciplinary artist and art therapist. She creates feminist activist art for social change and awareness of the voice of women in society. She works in various mediums while combining mixed media and recycled material. So hi, Rinat. I would love if you wouldn't mind sharing with us, I guess, a bit more about your personal journey. And I know you went through cancer, you had cancer, and I know that prompted some things in how you live your own life a bit differently. And I wondered if you could share a bit about, your own personal journey and how that experience perhaps shifted how you saw yourself as a woman.
Thank you, Hannah. So for me, dealing with the cancer was an opportunity to change my life. I was 38 years old, and it was after giving birth of my second child. And this, it was shocking for me. It was a shocking event. And I asked myself so many questions, and why was these things happen to me at that point of time? And one of the answers I got in a moment of silence was that I forgot myself, that I totally forgot myself in the way of being adult and in the motherhood. And I understood that I was using and looking at my body as a working machine. And I was living my life in a masculine point of view of trying to be like men, trying to work harder, to be efficient, to do everything fast. And in the same time, I was oppressing my feelings just to try to please others and to be perfect or to be a good girl. And I was understanding that, it's not only to do art, I have to put myself in front of the camera. So this project tells my real story. It's my husband and my real kids and my nephews, because I felt that I have to tell my story, that is a story of many other women that forgot themselves as a part of ancient social conditions.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I've heard from other people who also have felt that experience of kind of waking up. It's like we've kind of been sleepwalking as you say, as machines, or trying to do things the exact same way that men have been doing it, but without realizing, we have our own complete operating systems, and we are each our own beings, and to be able to kind of shift the way you see yourself, I think is incredible, and how you're able to share that with other people to perhaps spark that awakening in others, I think is a really inspiring thing. And as you were saying, when people go to check out your work, it's you and your family is in there. I guess, would you be able to kind of walk us through a couple of the pieces and the process that you went through? Because I think what I find really interesting about your work is that it explores kind of female stereotypes. So in the pieces, how have you kind of showcased what a specific stereotype is? And then how are you, I guess, kind of challenging that through your work?
So me and Mali, the photographer, we choose 3 different stereotypes: the mother, the wife, and the bride. And in fact, we try to break these images by showing the gap between the fantasy of these images and the real reality. So we can see the bride with the fancy white dress, and she is with a mess with all her kids and her exhausted husband. And, we wanted to say that there isn't such a thing as like being a perfect mother or a perfect marriage. And for me, it was a great opportunity to show my weekends, to share them with other women. And I wish that other women, see it, and it will free them from the need to be perfect. And, it's like, it's really me. I could find my own way to become a mother and not to run after an image in my head.
Yeah, amazing. And I mean, that's definitely something that I have struggled with, and that I imagine most women in the world have struggled with, is the idea of what you're supposed to look like and what you're supposed to be, and what you're supposed to do. And it's this impossible standard that we all keep chasing. And I feel like now the more that we can share about our own kind of real experiences, the more that we start to kind of break that connection and break that chase that we're never going to achieve. And so I appreciate kind of your vulnerability, as well as all of the artists, and increasingly every woman in my life who's just really open to sharing about their own personal journey, because I think it does help shift what our own journeys look like. We're all not all heading to one very narrow direction. We're figuring it out on our own and ourselves. So thank you, Rinat. Next we have Juliana Luna, who's on a journey as a multidisciplinary artist, leader, mentor, and narratorial creator whose mission is to empower women through movement, ancestral awareness, and intuitive knowledge. And we're all so lucky today to be able to experience Luna's art after this event, after this panel. We'll go through one of the workshops that you lead. So hi, Luna. I'm excited to hear more about the Aluna method, which experiments in ancestral envisioning of past, present, and future. And something that I loved when hearing about your work is the relationship or the dynamic that you explore between individual experience and collective experience. So I would love to speak with you about that, of what do you think kind of the value is of creating spaces that allow people to explore both their individual experience, as well as how that then relates to what's happening collectively.
Thank you, Hannah. Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. This is such an important topic to be talking about, especially in a month like this. I feel like we should definitely create more awareness around period health. It will help so many women around the world find more comfort in, what they're going through in general. I feel like, the work I do, bringing together ancestral knowledge, always represents, to me at least, the merging of the microcosmos and the macrocosmos, right? We're speaking about it from an indigenous perspective. My ancestors, the Yoruba people that were enslaved and taken to Brazil, where I was born, they were directly connected to that notion of micro and macro being one, everybody being part of this like web of life, and the web of life that connects humans to nature, everything alive within nature itself. So I really love that the symbol for that connection is actually the symbol of the moon, and the symbol of fertility, the symbol of understanding how seasons actually are necessary for the balance of everything that is. This is my contribution through my work, is helping people gain perspective on like leaving that linear, completely fragmented understanding of like past, present, and whatever matters now from now on is only the future, to a more, the moon is, she has a more integrated vision. She is taking in consideration the past in order to live a more present, fulfilled life and create a better, more equal future for everybody in the planet, in the equation. So yes, it starts at an individual level, and that's the micro, and then it expands into that macrocosmos, because we are projecting our presence into the world with more awareness.
Beautiful. And to that point, I'm so fascinated by time and space and past, present, and future, and everything that you just talked about. I do really find it fascinating. And I guess my question for you is, with all that you've both experienced and learned and channeled with and how you've put together the Eluna method. I guess my question is, do you have kind of advice, or how do we start to build that relationship with our past? How do we take that with us and inform what we're doing now, which then kind of informs what's happening next? What's kind of the, I guess, kind of first step in order to like better understand time and space? Sorry, that's such a big question.
No, not at all. I totally understand it. I love this kind of question because it helps me, bring to the equation exactly this fluctuation of time and space, which is completely different in a cyclical perspective. From a linear perspective, time is sharp, is very condensed and contained. From a cyclical perspective, time is expanded and contracted, and it bends in all kinds of directions, right? Something that we experience a lot, for example, when we are starting to connect to that notion, is synchronicities. Like when we talk about something and like an hour later that same thing pops up in a random book that we picked up or someone gave us, and you're like, wait, I just talked about this, and then it takes you back to something you've been struggling with for like since your childhood. That is a very good example of how time and space are playing that in that almost like a bubble gum kind of like location. Everything is completely integrated, and it stretches and it goes places. So I feel like the more you connect to that inner moon, which is your ability to recognize your own cycles, the more you are in alignment with all the cycles of nature. So those things are much more integrated, and you start becoming conscious of your very impact in the world. You take a responsibility for that impact because you know that your cycles are guiding your experience, almost like a GPS kind of thing. So I don't know if that kind of like answers your question. I have so much more to say about it, but I'm going to keep it simple on this.
That's perfect. Because I'm sure we'll all find out so much more after this when we get to experience your work firsthand. So thank you, Luna. And just
You're
before
welcome.
I come to our next artist, just want to remind all the viewers, if you do have questions, drop them in the chat or in the comments, and we will try to get to them. And until then, I'm going to come to Yaela Wilshansky, who is an Israeli artist based in New York. And her work explores ways in which architecture and communal beliefs function as additional layers of restrictions on the body. Whoa, so mind-blowing. Okay, so your work is called The Place and the Maze, and it's video art which takes the viewer on quite a meditative journey, which I think we all need so much more of in our very like fast-paced sperm-like world. So can you tell us more about that artistic choice for it to be a meditative journey, and how you see that relating to this conversation that we're having about the feminine?
Yeah, hi Anna, thank you. So I think both of the videos are actually containers, and I think that the kind of the step that happened before making those videos is being a potter and having that experience of kind of sitting and creating a vessel, and while I was working, as long as I was kind of on the wheel, I felt this extreme feeling of aliveness and creativity. And at the moment that the vessel was off and fired, I lost interest in it. And then I was thinking, how can my final product still, what I share with the audience, how can that still hold that sense of aliveness? So in a place, I'm working with snow with a method that I would have done with the soil, and kind of having confidence in that under the snow there is soil. And I did that video when I felt really kind of disconnected. And I think that after working with the pottery, I felt that what draws me there was this vessel making, that I actually want to create a vessel for myself
that if I think of the image of myself, so the world is round and I'm on it, and I want to make a container. I want to rest inside. I want to be contained here. And the maze is a video that I made with my womb lining. I like to call it that. And it was this experience that that I have this beautiful material that it looks like lace, and it's so beautiful when it floats in the water. And I felt that it was so different than what I see on the media, and what when I was a young girl, when I was educated to what this is. It was such I mean, I just didn't feel at all as an adult that was the information that I needed. And I thought, how can I share this beautiful thing with the world? And because I think that we all have imagery of these this product that you go and buy in a store, that it has smell, but I mean, that it kind of adds. It's not just that didn't make sense to me. So I thought, okay, I'm seeing this in a ceramic vessel in a toilet bowl with floating in water. So how can I show the same image? So I made a ceramic vessel for that. And the shape that I made is the shape of the houseplant that I grew in. And I was thinking that this womb lining is kind of a place inside of me. And I wanted it to swim, and it's kind of a place within a place. My womb lining is kind of swimming inside the place that I was familiar with when I came here, and the shape. When I grew up in a communal village, so everybody had the same house plan. So this shape has it's not only for me; it's also other people can relate to it and can be familiar with it.
Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I think something that we haven't explicitly talked about yet, but that's kind of coming up as for me as you were talking about that. We've talked about what kind of stereotypes around women are, what that idea of perfection is, and I think kind of associated with that is the shame about how we actually are. And that's kind of the reason why we're all striving to that perfectionism, or for that one way of how it should look and what I guess the stereotype should be. It's because we feel shame and guilt around our like natural, authentic, true beings, especially as women. So I guess with your work, I wondered if you had thoughts around, trying to normalize some of these things that women experience, of painting them as something that can be really beautiful and like soft and wonderful, rather than something that's just you have to shut off and it's gross and you just go to the store and you get the thing and then you don't talk about it. So yeah, but if just you have thoughts on that and how you kind of brought that into your work.
Yeah, I have two thoughts. So one thought is like, as an artist, it's kind of obvious that I go to an art store that has a shelf, it's labeled as art material, and I buy and then I create. And I think that when I started to create, I documented for a few years my cycles, also the cervical mucus and the menstrual blood, and I worked with that. And when I was working with those materials, the imagery that I was able to create were much stronger. And also working with, putting my body in my work. And also about the shame, when I started working with it, yes, I was looking to, I felt, okay, I am feeling shame. I want to therefore share and like a different image and get pleasure from people seeing what I see. But now I can work directly from my place of pleasure. I can just find pleasure in myself and work from that and have confidence that is relevant and that is good, and I don't need to go to a place of feeling the difficulties. I do want to be aware of what my difficulties are, and as you said, as you read, I do want to be aware of how my communal beliefs are shaping how I think about myself, but I want to access the place of pleasure and work from that, and just enjoy being creative. And it's simple. It can be simple.
Oh, agreed. I think that was one of my big intentions for this year and probably for life moving forward, but how to operate more from a place of joy and from pleasure, and to just know that like it's okay to feel good. It's okay to operate even in like the smallest tasks at work. Like, how can I bring more pleasure into this experience? And I think for me, that's been a huge part of my own journey in connecting to my femininity and understanding feminine energy and that whole nature and side of things. Yeah, that's really beautiful. I think that's a good, always a good place to start.
Yeah, because I think as women, we're educated. I mean, I think we have this image that it's supposed to be difficult, but I think that working from pleasure, it's rewarding and it's healthy.
Oh, agreed. The healthiest way to be. We're pleasure vessels. We're pleasure containers, as you might say. Okay, and I want to do another quick round between all of the artists, and just given the theme of International Women's Day this year, the question that I want to do, kind of a speed round with you all, is what about women do you want to challenge most this year? Or what do you want to invite people to challenge about being a woman for 2021? So Emily, I know this is kind of putting you on the spot, but I'm going to come to you first again of what do you want to challenge most this year?
Yeah, so something I really believe in and have been thinking about in my life is we let certain cycles persist for a long time, whether that's we see other women as competition and we're taught someone saw me as competition, so now I need to do that as well to have my place here. And I really want to focus on breaking the cycles that we don't need and that are no longer serving us, and remembering that, you know, if you are the link that can do something different, you can create a new cycle and be uplifting other women and create something stronger together rather than perpetuating a system that was created for us.
Oh, love that. Yeah, I think that's a great point of also questioning like vicious cycles that we're in, like that idea of a zero-sum game just isn't true. We don't need it anymore. We can all kind of lift each other up and support one another together. Thank you, Emily. Next, I'm going to come to Maayan. What do you want to challenge this year?
I think for me, I kind of understood after I participated in this project of What Would the Egg Do? I kind of felt so much more empowered, and I want to empower women to understand how strong they are and how much they're capable of changing things, and that they are an influence to and they are meaningful more than they actually believe they are. And that's what I felt in my studio, in my work, and in working with my art. I kind of felt after joining this project that I have much more to say, and that I feel much more of an influence that I thought that I would beforehand. And I think that for women all over the world, believe in yourself and believe in your inner like your inner mind, whatever your mind tells you, believe in it and understand that that's the right way to go.
Yeah, I think trusting yourself is a huge one.
Yes.
Amazing. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to come to Rinat Zimash next. What do you want to challenge this year? I know we already talked a little bit about challenging stereotypes, but anything else that you really want to prompt people to challenge this year?
First of all, I would like to challenge women not to become men. And first of all, and the second thing is to find a supportive community of women to be empowered. And for me, this experience of these projects and event of Rinat is amazing. And this is exactly the things. This is exactly a great example for it.
Yeah, amazing. Find your community, find your support. We're all here for each other. Get in touch with us if you are looking for a supportive community. You know where to find us. Thank you. Okay, Luna, I'm going to come to you next. Of what's kind of your big challenge that you want to set out for folks this year?
This year, through the work I've been doing, I want people to be connected to their cyclical nature, especially women. Women can definitely transform this planet if they get in touch with that inner cyclical moon. The awareness that comes from that is, there's nothing in the world that can pay nothing for that awareness. Like, it's so powerful and liberating. And that is where my mission is sharing a whole nother perspective with women, and offering another way of living that is based on respecting their own experience, respecting where they are, how they feel, and how they can move directed by that experience that is so protective. So that's my mission.
Oh, thank you. Okay, Yaela, over to you.
Yeah, I feel so inspired and humble with what everybody said, and what I can add is really what I'm feeling now, after kind of being part of this conversation, is that really there's, and just to close my eyes and look inside and have confidence and trust in that, and that the world will accept it. I mean, I think when I was working in my studio, it's really awkward to kind of tell people what I'm doing, but hey, Rinat invited me to show my work, so I'm sure that there are more people out there that are interested, and so just to do really what I feel is good, and it will pay off.
Yeah, amazing. And we need it. We need your work to be out there. Okay, and Rinat, welcome to the chat. What do you want to challenge folks to take on this year?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for being part of this incredible project, and making it incredible. I mean, the project wouldn't have been incredible if not for your work. And I think, first of all, challenging that the period is not something that we should be ashamed of, but something that we should celebrate. If you would have told me 10 years ago that I would be curating an exhibition of women showcasing their womb lining as a craft and art material, I would have never have believed it in 1,000 years. And so, yeah, challenge the status quo and push it as far as you can. And challenging that power that we have as women, but as humans as well, and just think of that one thing that you're so ashamed of, and how can you turn it into your source of power. Maybe that would be it. Just taking that one thing in your life that you feel like if someone knew about it, you would crumble and die, and just turn it into the thing that you celebrate the most. Because probably that thing is what makes you very, very unique. And so that would be what I would challenge. And that for each and every one of us, to find our cycles. We all have cycles. We're part of nature. It doesn't matter if you're a man, a woman, anyone on the spectrum, on the gender spectrum. It doesn't really matter. We all have cycles because we're part of nature. We sometimes forget that we are part of nature. And just to tap into that cycle. And as Luna said, once you tap into it, the sky is the limit with what you can create. And yeah, so tap into your cycles, celebrate what you're ashamed of. And maybe the last thing that I want to challenge, I think this year, I want to say for me, but I think it's a collective thing, has been one of the most challenging years of my life. I've experienced the most extreme of extremes of everything. And what you said, Hannah, of bringing more joy into whatever we do, even the little things, even through uncertainty and through the pain and through the slush and the snow, as Yaela showed in her work. How can we bring more joy into that? So joy, celebrating the things that we're ashamed of, and finding our cycles. Those are the three.
Beautiful. Things. Lots to take on this year, ladies, but we can do it because we have each other, we have our cycles. And I just want to say a huge thank you to not only Rinat and Emily for putting this on, but as well as to all of our our artists, to Yaela, Luna, Mayan, Renat, Emily, of course. Thank you and congratulations as well for making this happen and putting it together. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, a little insight into your thinking and your feeling and emotion that went into the work that is in the gallery that I'm so excited for everyone to go see and explore. A couple of really great things kind of coming out of the conversation around the importance and value of connection, not only to yourself, but to other people, to your cycle, to nature, that sense of vitality and just like life force energy that we can get by doing that. I guess kind of reminder that it's all a journey and we're constantly evolving and we're going to come out of the dirt and muck and we're going to rise and move forward. And as kind of everyone's been saying, the importance of tapping in and tuning in and uncovering and discovering your own cycles, whatever that might mean for you is super important. So thank you again to everyone. As I mentioned, if you want to hear this conversation again or share it with others, head to the Crystals, Clits, and Climate podcast. We'll post it there tomorrow. And what I love about what everyone has shared is just, it really feels like, we're moving in the right direction. We're tapping into the collective cycle that we all need to be moving towards. We're exploring how we can come together to create a world that works for everyone, not just men and not just women, but for all people and all living beings. So I could not have asked for a better International Women's Day. I'm so grateful to be sharing it and spending it with you all. So thank you so much again. I'm going to hand it back to Renat to take us into the next section.
Thank you so much, Hannah. I'm always, just like glued to the screen whenever I hear your moderating and interviewing skills. So thank you so much for contributing from your talent to us today. We will now be moving into a small taste of the incredible workshop of Luna. We know that it's only going to be a very small taste, but she does have a broader workshop that you'll be able to join later on. I highly recommend that you stay tuned for the workshop. However, if you don't have time and you want to roam through the gallery, that is totally okay as well. We'll put a link in the YouTube live where you can click on it and go into the gallery and see not only the amazing artworks that were presented here, but then 10 other artists that have not been on the panel, but have really incredible work. And then also experience this crazy thing of being in New York City in a gallery on a virtual reality space. Just if you do that, please be on mute, because otherwise we'll hear you in the YouTube live. And please stay away from the stage, because this is where we're broadcasting right now. And so Luna really is such an inspiration for tapping into your moon, whether it's your menstrual cycle or whether it's the moon up there. And she will lead us a little bit into, like, give us a little taste of her workshop. I'm super excited about that. And then we'll meet up here afterwards for some final words. So enjoy, and Luna, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Renat. I am so excited to share some of this wisdom with you. All you have to do is to be present, comfortable. If you are at home, sitting in a place that is a bit hard, like, make sure that you are comfortable sitting. And if you have pen and paper, that is amazing as well, if you want to take notes. But try to stay connected to yourself during this moment. Don't go too much in your head. Maybe you can write some things afterwards when the workshop is over. We're gonna talk a little bit about the moon. I will give you a tiny explanation on why did I decided to do this, right? My work. First, my name is Juliana Luna. It's my birth name, so it's not like I could, just ignore that. The moon is in my name, and I've always had this really strong connection to the moon, even when I was small. And I started this little tiny a notebook where I would, every moon, I would just write what I felt, because I would feel so many things around full moons or new moons. It was always like, whenever I felt this like emergence of emotional material, I would write down so much in that little notebook, because I would know that the moon was trying to convey a message to me through that emotional release. So that already in itself, it's intelligence, right? Because you say, wow, this is an ancestral understanding that there's much more to my emotional expressions than just, oh, I'm being too sensitive, oh, I'm just, that's just how I am, I cry, and not really honoring those emotions as information, data, something that is there for you to actually investigate. And that is the gift of the moon. So this is why I do what I do. I want people to learn that, to embrace their nature, to embrace their natural ebbs and flows, embrace the fact that emotional reactions are actually part of our default configuration. This is how we communicate with one another as human beings. So how can we feel more comfortable in those emotions and not make them the enemy or shy away from them, thinking that they are something that we're not allowed to explore? So, through that connection to the moon, through this connection to my emotional body as a young person, a lot of people used to say, "Oh, emotional intelligence is key in today's world." Yes, it really is, because if you are attuned to your emotional body, that intelligence is natural. It's already there. It's like a child. When you watch a child and this and they're tired, they will let you know that they're tired. They start to get grumpy, and they just don't want to do things, and they don't want to be bothered. And all of a sudden you say, "Oh, I know what this child needs. It needs rest." So why don't we treat each other and ourselves as those same beings that are learning how to lean into that emotional body more? The moon is a great teacher in that sense. She is, full of different stages that let us know how do we communicate with those emotional data-filled emotional releases. She kind of like walks us through an expansion and contraction pathway. And that pathway is created because, whenever she's full, there's a whole perception that we have around her that is like, wow, the fullness, the brightness, right? The light that she reflects. It's the integration between the light of the sun and the darkness, which, she doesn't have light on her own, but she does act as a reflector of that solar light. So isn't that interesting? We admire her when she is full of light, and that light is being reflected by the light of the sun. What does that mean? It's an integration of that light and dark. They are married together in that moment, meaning light representing that masculine aspect and darkness representing that feminine aspect. So there's a balance between them. And then she goes into the darkness once more. And in that transition period, there's some release that is being made, because all of that light is now shrinking into a much more contained experience, visual experience, right? And when you see that she's trying to contain herself, there's a lot that has to be let go in that process of containment. when she gets to that new moon phase where it's the total darkness, there's no light reflecting on the moon by the sun. She's in that process of just meditation, of fully paying attention. Imagine if you are in a really dark room and you don't know where to step, you don't know how to move, so you move very, very slowly and a lot of caution in those movements, right? That is when the moon is new and it's showing you that it is time to tune in to the depth of your most primal instincts, because you can't count on your eyes to see. There's pitch blackness around you. So how do you tune into your ears more so you can hear and you can sense things from a whole nother perspective in that darkness? And then all of a sudden she starts shape-shifting again and growing into the light, being completely receptive to more of that light to expand within her surface. That receptivity, that openness to expansion is a quality of being present to the creative process, to that expanded inflow of light that is illuminating what before was pitch darkness. So now you actually have another sense in your being to explore with, which is your eyes. Your eyes are fully open because now you can see there's light through the darkness. So it's you start to activate that vision and you say, wow, oh, I can see now where I'm going. I can see that I don't have to be so careful anymore. I can now, look around and look at where I want to go. I have to use my sense of direction from within. And because I spent so much time in that darkness, that sense of direction from within is very clear. So once she grows back into that fullness, what happens is, wow, I am fully connected again. I can express that fullness in so many ways. I can be fully creative regarding that fullness of expression, right? So this is a full cycle. And how beautiful it is that through that full cycle, there's the embrace of all kinds of experiences. It's not about the full or about the empty. It's about the in-betweens as well. It's about the merging that is almost like so integrated that there's no way to separate them at all. So that binary concept of like, either I'm up, either I'm down, doesn't really make sense anymore. The moon tells us that up and down are relative. And everything about the perspective, the way you choose to approach life is a choice. It offers you a choice because it's not like, okay, after this cycle, you're done. No, after that cycle, there's another cycle. And after that, another cycle, there's another cycle. So you have an opportunity to grow more into who you are at every cycle. And the more you grow into who you are, the more you feel the energy of that nurturing aspect that the moon offers. Why do I say she offers a nurturing, like a nurturing capability to us? She is a satellite, right? A natural satellite. And she is exerting a gravitational pull into the earth itself. Planet Earth, we look at things from a heliocentric perspective, which is The sun is in the middle, and everybody is rotating around the sun. In that rotation around the sun, planet Earth has her own moon. Her moon is gravitationally connected to ensure that the tilt, the specific tilt that planet Earth has in order to maintain all harmony in everything that is, right? I would say the seasons changing, climate conditions, all the biological structures that are intrinsically dependent on one another are all because this specific tiltation is preserved by the gravitational pull that the moon exerts on planet Earth. Moon also is helping planet Earth slow down, because if it rotated in the way that it wants to, it would be chaos. We would not have a concept of time, because what gives us a concept of time is the slow rotation of planet Earth around its axis. So here you see how is it the moon helping that slow down process? She is exerting that gravitational pull on the most malleable material in the surface of planet Earth. That malleable material is water. So if we think about that, planet Earth is comprised of roughly 75 to 80% of water. Our bodies are comprised of the same amount. Do you think that's a coincidence? Maybe it is. If not, what do you think that means? If we look at it from, a holistic perspective, what is that? What is the significance that the moon and planet Earth being comprised of 70 to 80% water and our bodies being comprised of the same? What does that mean for you? If you want to reflect on that a little bit, it would be a very good idea. Now, what water represents emotions, right? So the tides, the ebbs and the flows of that water around the Earth are helping the Earth actually slow down its space, so everything around it can function in harmony. How beautiful is that? Slow down, so everything around you just does what it needs to do. You don't have to control anything. It's all working in its own configuration, in its own ways that are totally weaved together. So harmony is installed in the planet. Now, what is messing with that? What is messing with that harmony? It's the fact that we are all disconnected as human race from this notion of cyclicality, that nature itself is living. Nature is doing its thing. The cycles are happening, seasons are changing, crops are renewing itself, the soil is working in its fertilization processes, the trees are communicating underneath the soil through mycelium and all kinds of intelligence that is, present in the roots of the trees that function as a huge nervous system coding throughout the entire planet, where they exchange information with one another. All of that is happening. Meanwhile, us, human beings, are much more concerned with living our linear lives, which is you are born, someone tells you, well, you must become someone from now on, And when you're born and someone tells you you must become someone, what do you say? You say, oh, that means I'm nobody. Okay. So you internalize that idea of being nobody, and you start to move towards what? Becoming somebody. So that's what we are concerned with in planet Earth, becoming somebody as human beings, instead of realizing that we were born fully capable of integrating that notion of belonging, because we are somebody. We are human beings sent here to care for this planet, to care for one another, to connect in ways that are fully just loving, and communities being created, and people living off the land completely in alignment with the land's rules and modus operandi. Each piece of land has a specific way of communicating, right? What does it need? Is it too cold there in some months of the year? Is it too wet there some months of the year? What is it telling you? Human beings used to be able to connect with that and live according to that. But now we do not have that connection anymore. That wisdom has been completely cut off from us. So let's bring it to a practical standpoint, right? The practical standpoint will be, let's see how that actually develops in our own bodies. Yeah. How are those movements of contraction and expansion happening through our body? The very first thing that I want to ask you is, what do I need as a human in this planet? What do I need that is crucial for my surviving? If you want to answer that in the chat, that would be super cool. If not, I can tell you in a couple of seconds. What do we need for our surviving? I'm going to tell you. I know that the chat is rolling. We need to breathe. We need oxygen. So finding space to connect to the expansion and contraction of our very breath teaches us so much about this integrated experience. Let's sit down in a comfortable position and start by exhaling, like emptying your lungs. Empty it out, all the air. Notice what happens in your body when you get all that air out. Your body starts to contract, collapse. Now, that is your starting point. And now inhale and see what's happening to your body now when you're inhaling, right? And do it until you can't have any more air inside of you. Like you've filled yourself up with oxygen to the max. Notice how full your expression is. Your physical expression is. There's fullness to it. Hold that air like a couple seconds in the top. And now start to empty your lungs again. Notice what is that causing in your body. We just expanded and felt the fullness of breath. And now we are emptying ourselves letting out everything that doesn't serve our body anymore, because that oxygen that came in nurtured our cells, bathed our cells with energy. And now, as we exhale, we are actually getting rid of what the things that are within us that don't serve our metabolism anymore. So here we're back onto that emptiness once again. So let's do this one more time, just understanding what are these movements, these ebbs and flows of energy, of breath inside of us in this very moment. You can close your eyes, you can keep your eyes open. Just feel comfortable and start the process again by exhaling until you have no air in your lungs. And then inhale. Expand, expand, expand until you are full, 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 so full you can't take it anymore. Hold for a couple seconds. See the fullness, feel the fullness, receive the fullness. And now start to exhale once again. Notice what that is doing to your body. Notice how you are releasing some of the tension that might have been somewhere in your neck or in your arms. It's so nice to have this understanding of expansion and contraction as being one, being part of this oneness of flow that is our very basic foundation of expression as humans. Necessity is like the foundation of our necessity is to breathe, right? So how do you feel? How do you feel right now in your experience through this awareness? Let's see what Rinat is saying here. Relief and motion. Yes. Beautiful. Super beautiful. So this is where we start to understand that the phases of the moon are actually in our breath. That emptiness, right? That contraction, that full contraction of the body, and then the in-between of expanding, of letting the air in. What is this? What is the air? Is the light. And once you turn it off again, that darkness comes all the way through. So this is a full circle process. And this is what I wanted to share with you today. Whenever you feel like you're disconnected from your body or you want to connect to the moon, you can always do this breathing. The sense of oneness in this breathing will take you closer. Your desire to connect to the moon will take you closer to coming home, which is your body, yourself, your own vessel of divinity in this earth. So thank you so much for being in this workshop with me. I hope you learned something new today. And I am excited. If you want to, work with me and in any capacity, you can always come and visit my website, or, I'm here for any questions, comments, or concerns. Just write me a note. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Luna. This has been incredible, and I really love Luna's philosophy, because it kind of shows us how I love the relationship between the macro and the micro, and how everything that happens on the planetary level, on the moon level, also happens within us as well, and vice versa. And how, you know, so many times we feel ourselves to be as this isolated entity, but we're so interconnected. And not only that we are interconnected between each other, we are the universe, and the universe is us. And I really love that brought forward in Luna's philosophy. So thank you so much for this. And this kind of concludes the panel element of the panel and the workshop element of our launch event. And what is coming up next is your you can just go into the gallery and roam around and kind of experience the VR experience. If you have the Oculus glasses, you can put them on and actually feel like you're in the space. But even if not, I'm sure if you're not in New York City, it's the closest that you'll be to New York City for the past year. And so, yeah, you'll be able to experience all the artworks there. And I want to thank again everybody, to thank Maya, the director of the X Reality Center that made all of this happen. Thank Netta in the Israeli consulate for their support and partnership, and for Netta's opening remarks. To thank the wonderful Hannah Pang for moderating this panel, and then to thank all the artists, Emily, Rinat, Mayan, Yela, and Luna, and then for Luna for the workshop, and then all the artists in this exhibition, and of course you, who is behind the scenes coordinating all of this. Then the link will be available for you in the YouTube Live. You can click on it and watch it, go into the gallery, but you can also come in any other day. It would be there for you to watch it. And I'll just want us to end this event for Women's International Day with a quote we probably most of us know. I just changed one word there. Here is to powerful women. May we know them, may we be them, and may we raise them. So thank you all. Go enjoy the gallery. Go toast a glass of wine for all the women out there, for all the feminine energy out there, and for us to embrace it and celebrate it and create a humanity that is the integration of the sperm and the egg together to create life. Thank you all.